I'm going to anglicize all of these Martians' names. Hello and welcome to Double Issue. It is I, Quentin Pongratz, a host of Double Issue. Joining me today is another host.
Hello, I'm another host, Daniel Poole.
And today we're doing a weird one. Doing an experimental, gamey world building episode.
That's right, you've been tricked. This is a real play now.
Yeah, instead of stories, because I continued to be moving in between and didn't write a story again.
It's okay. At work, I got 2 different giant projects handed off to me. And they're like, yeah, and I know it's like we're mostly off next week because of the holiday, but just go ahead and get that all finished up, would you? It's just, oh, sure thing, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So we're doing a world build because those are easier to do. And they're also more fun.
Yeah.
At least I was thinking about this. I was like, they're more fun. Why isn't the whole show that then? But I like the fun of the stories one is a very different fun. The fun is in like the work put into it.
See, I have a whole lot of fun with the stories whenever I first hear like the completed story coming out.
Yeah, the fun is the getting to the finished product on those. The record session of those is basically just chatting about the stories.
Yeah.
But it's more fun to create than it is to do a piece of a larger pie.
I also kind of like our single stories because we can kind of make up stuff and then we just have to deal with that. Whereas in Worldbuild, we can kind of democratically go back and forth.
Yeah. So today we're playing a game of Microscope, which is a thing maybe you haven't heard of before, but it's the tagline is a fractal role-playing game of epic histories by Ben Robbins.
Yeah. And we've played this a few times just on our own and had some pretty good experiences. Like we've created some pretty cool worlds.
Yeah, and it's basically creating a timeline mostly. We have some setup work already done, but as we go through this episode, we'll be adding points to the timeline and asking questions and answering questions, and we'll be able to zoom back and forth through time as well as in and out of time. We can like do broad strokes like declare that a war happened in between these two events, and then later on come back to it with a finer degree on our microscope here and figure out even like down to what a general's decision, what kind of impact that had on a battle in the war.
Yeah. And for our microscope game, we're going to be looking at the Martians, pre-Earth, figuring out what brought them to Earth.
Yeah. Our big picture is an alien empire rises and falls. And we've already bookended our history. We're going to be starting with a vague event we're calling right now the Grand Unification. And our endpoint is going to be when the Martians leave Mars on a ship to crash land and become Atlantis.
And then we've got a palette that we've discussed that has yes and no items for our universe while we're creating it in this place. So we've just got a couple items that are like, yes, these story elements can be included, and no, these story elements shouldn't be included. And really the biggest one we had was like, no immortal characters, because microscope games get derailed really quick by immortal characters.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to each add a thing to the timeline for our first pass, and then we'll go into turn order and explain what we're doing as we do it.
Cool. These are going to be big events?
They can be events or periods.
Okay.
I guess I should explain what events and periods are. So there's the like 3 levels to the timeline. You've got the periods, which are large sweeping periods. It's a large chunk of time, usually decades or centuries, depending on the history. like an era of feudal wars or stellar colonization. Then we've got below that, inside of the periods, we've got events, which are something specific that happens in periods, like a large battle or a festival. And then inside events, we have what are called scenes. Usually when we define a period or event, we give a brief description of what it is. For scenes, we ask a question and then we role play it out a bit to find the answer to that question. Sometimes they're going to be obvious answers in a short scene, or sometimes there'll be events or questions that seem like they might be obvious and they come across a unobvious answer, which throws a wrench in everything. And then I want to remind you, Daniel, no one owns anything in the history. You can make an event and say, this is when the prophet gets assassinated, or this is when the awesome city you guys have going on, you guys have been going on about gets nuked. Boom. We can't contradict anything, but no one owns anything, so killing or destroying things is allowed. I think it's a story in one of these books that one of someone's favorite game is they had everything basically figured out. There was like a big war near the end of the timeline, and then there was space travel after it. And everyone assumed the timeline was basically settled. But on the last turn, someone decided that there was like nuclear holocaust right after the big war. And so it just suddenly opened up this chasm that no one could close because the game was over.
Oh.
That everyone was then after the game just wondering about, like, oh, there's like basically a whole second history in there. Like, how did they get back all the way?
We were discussing it before we started, but we are saying that Mars has a lot more water at this point. Enough that it's mostly ocean.
Yeah. Mars, the water world.
And somehow we gotta get all that water off of Mars.
We have done our first pass. Do you want to say what these are, Daniel?
Yeah. So during the Grand Unification, Excalibur is forged for the Child King, Vogath.
Okay.
And then you've got Touch the Sky.
It's a period.
Touch the Sky, the time of many great towers that extend out of the waters.
So do you want to go first? You can pick a focus.
Okay.
And that will focus what events we do. And remember to start out after you pick the focus, you get to create 2 periods or events, and they can be nested inside of one another if need be.
Well, I'm interested in following up with the towers further. So I'd like to make the towers the focus.
Okay. I believe
And
they're
then
called air scrapers.
So then I need to make 2 periods or events about those?
Yeah. Periods and or events. If you make a period, you can put an event inside of it also.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to say what you have added to the timeline?
After the Touch the Sky period, I added a period of indeterminate time after, in which the skyscrapers fall back into the sea, and we played around with some names for it, but right now we're sitting on air scrapers, more like sea scrapers, and I decided that would probably be a negative aspect, and I put an event under it called the Destruction of Babel. The largest air scraper tumbles into the seas.
Also negative.
Also negative. So what have you got?
So I have added an event in the Touch the Sky period where I have said the Science Council deems the technology of water holding, trademark pending on name, to be safe enough to build structures with. A Science Council has deemed a technology, whatever technology it is they need to build these things. So do you got an idea for a name there? Or a type of technology or something?
We call it the pump.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's got to be fancier than that, huh?
What if, because I have to add an event after this, right?
Yeah.
I've got an idea for the inventor that makes the technology. What if it's like a magitech?
Like, what is the technology doing is maybe something we need to flesh out real quick.
Yeah, so I think it helps keep the water moving through the buildings. So it's some sort of purification system, but also possibly magically powered. So a giant toilet.
The Science Council deems the flush tech to be safe enough to build structures with.
Okay.
Well, let's see. The stagnation no more.
What about the hand wavatron?
Keep it moving. We be viscous.
What about Pied Piper?
It's an awful name.
What about just something like Aquifer?
The Science Council deems the Flow Rida tech to be safe enough to build structures with.
Scientist Georgia-Florida Line Coalition. We're not as impressed. What about Flowmaster?
Float. But flow T. Okay, the Science Council deems the float technology used to make the air scrapers to be safe enough to build structures with.
All right. Well, here's mine. Phaedra, creator of the float technology, completes his first successful test. And Phaedra is a magic weapon from Hindu, Jainism, and Buddhist traditions. But it's typically a club that shoots lightning.
All right, sounds like you're adding a whole lot more than just one thing, but all right.
I just said that's the guy's name. I just thought you should know there's a reason I picked it. That's just one thing.
Okay, so you've completed up the round.
Yeah.
Now I've got to give you a
legacy.
Yep. I now choose a legacy for you. Something that came up during that last thing. I think your legacy will be Vajra.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is again? Sorry.
It's a Sanskrit word meaning thunderbolt and diamond. Additionally, it's a weapon. It says won in battle, which is used as a ritual object to symbolize the properties of diamond and thunderbolt. So it's a club with a ribbed or spiritual head.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's like a 4-way club?
Yeah.
Or a 2-way club?
Oh, it looks like it's a double-ended
It's
club.
showing both. Do you see this one with 4 of them?
Oh, I was just on the wiki page. Let me look up. Oh, man. Oh, okay.
Guess we should determine now, is it 4 or 2? It's 2 2s that combine to make a 4. That's
that works.
You can dual wield them or snap them together and then create like a sort of boomerang type of device. So I guess if you're not looking at this, it's like a small club that you hold in kind of the middle, and each end has it kind of looks like a maybe in some ways a talon. Also a little bit like those king's crowns that are kind of like curved at the top. Was that kind of fair?
The crown's what I saw first, but then when you said talon, I saw that too.
Yeah, and some of them have kind of claw-like properties on the end, but it doesn't seem like it's for stabbing so much. But
it's sort of like a medieval Europe scepter, where it's more decorative than necessarily for actually smacking somebody with.
Yeah, but it's kind of just handheld and not much reach, but the like kind of extends on either side of your hand that way. So I guess in the dual wielding form, just kind of bash with it on either end, and then you can combine them together into like a cross shape. And I assume twirl that around or something, because I don't know how you would wield it at that point. But maybe as a boomerang.
Yeah. Since it's thunderbolt as part of the properties, I was thinking he was like shoots lightning out of it
Underwater.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason he built the towers.
Maybe it's more thunder underwater.
That's true, like a sonic weapon.
Yeah. And then I get to create an event or scene with Vajra.
Oh.
I'm going to create a scene, our first scene here. Underneath the event, Excalibur forged for the Child King Vogoth. I have made a scene that asked the question, why did the wielder of Excalibur kill the wielder of Vajra? Okay, so I have asked the question. Now we can make a scene. I guess we can roleplay or semi-roleplay since it's only the two of us. We can each pick a character we decide the actions of and then kind of do surrounding characters as necessary. I assume Vogoth is going to be there. Whoever's wielding Vajra. And I don't know who else would be there. They're in a battle.
Yeah.
There's this is during the time of the Grand Unification, so they have some sort of disagreement. Excalibur was just forged for Vogoth. So perhaps Vogoth is at a disagreement with this Vajra person.
What if the Vajra person is the maker of Excalibur? Well, then that falls into a literary trope of like the sword maker that gets killed by their own weapon. So let's say, what if they wanted to stop them from making more weapons as powerful as Excalibur or something like that?
Well, we haven't gotten into the forging a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
So perhaps Vajra person is maybe like another piece of the army. Like this is some grand unification. These are like two united nations/army, and perhaps it's power grab?
Yeah.
Or is it more personal?
I mean, it could be both. What if they're one of their like commanders or like fellow generals, and they kill them to take their army, but also maybe for a personal reason? Maybe they liked their lady, so they're trying to cover up a personal matter with active war. For us.
Aren't they all fluid?
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate. It's hard to think in these terms in something that's kind of an alien society.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
So do you want to be Vogoth or Vedra person, which you've named maybe Siri?
Yeah, as a name I just found on the Don John fantasy name generator.
Oh, it's nighttime. And it's hard to think of these things because I'm thinking of above water things, of like a general's tent.
A general's giant clamshell?
Got some natural underwater cave formation.
A really nice piece of coral.
They've got some way to like, do they see underwater? They got like dark vision?
I mean, they gotta.
Or do they have lights everywhere? Like, do they have lights as part of their body?
I guess they could.
That seems really cool.
What if there's a lot of bioluminescence too, just in general? So maybe there's little patches of light under the water.
Yeah, but I would just mean like as part of their bodies, some sort of bioluminescence type stuff.
Yeah, that seems cool.
I think maybe Siri is going there to assassinate Vogoth and is like sneaking into the tent. So they've dimmed all their bio lights.
Maybe Vogoth maybe they did something to force Siri to want to kill them.
You be Vogoth. What's Vogoth doing?
I think they're acting like they're paying a lot of attention to like a map. But I was thinking like maybe they're looking over like this like kind of 3D magical map and kind of doing some routine army business with it, trying to like act like they're not paying attention.
Okay. Siri knew this was going to happen, and earlier in the day left one of their Vajras on the table and is planning to sneak up behind Vogoth and like summon the other part to it, because I've just now determined that's part of the Vedra is you can summon one part to the other.
Okay.
So like the plan is to just kind of summon that part right through Vogoth.
I think what Siri doesn't know is that Excalibur's super magic ability is to control other magic weapons.
What?
And so they just like put up a tentacle and it goes around them.
How?
And then
That's it. That's as Siri.
Oh, okay, yeah.
How?
I think Vogoth doesn't answer. They just make both of the Vedra electrocute Siri, like connect the current between both of his hands. And then after he's already dead,
hold on, what's all this? Let me break down your terminology. Both.
Yeah, both
I thought
of the
they were very tentacled.
Single.
I just meant like both doesn't apply to both of their hands.
I was saying like they catch the other one, like the other half of the club.
Through both of the Vedra?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you said both of their hands.
No.
And I was
Siri,
like, they've got many tentacles.
Sorry. Appendage. Vogoth, like, kind of waves away the Vedra, and Siri catches it. And he turns around and, like, zaps him with it. And, like, while he's kind of weak and not quite dead, he's like,
they're like,
that was my power. Or something like, you fell just for my trap.
I guess I could have Siri say why, but I feel like the why is because Siri was going to kill Vogoth.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if Vogoth set it up, though, he says something like, well, it's a pity that you failed your assassination. Like, someone's going to have to lead your army now.
And then he goes, isn't that right, Siri's mate? Because they were in it all along and whispered assassination things into Siri's ears. Or whatever they have instead of ears.
I think they've got ears. Like little ear holes.
They got vibration sensation.
Do they speak by telepathy?
What if they speak by a combination of telepathy and light signals?
Oh, I like that.
So why did...
Yeah, it was to
take control of their army.
Seems good.
/ in self-defense. Okay, so that's one round done. My focus will be... I'll just go with Excalibur. In between the Grand Unification and Touch the Sky, I have added a period called Excalibur. A time when Excalibur is sealed away and the weapons cores have more autonomy. And then inside of that period, I have an event. Each weapon develops a council to help share the burden of leadership.
So each individual weapon.
Yeah.
All right. So now I need to add an event or period.
Event, period, scene, somehow related to the focus of Excalibur.
Okay.
Now touch the sky and the fall of the air scrapers seem like events within the period of Excalibur, but we'll work it out.
Yeah, well, maybe this will help. So I have Excalibur is freed from its vault, but lost to the depths.
Where is that?
Under more like sea scrapers. So during the destruction of the air scrapers, the Excalibur is lost.
Okay. I've created a scene. Underneath the Excalibur is freed from its vault, but lost to the depths. My scene is the question: why was Excalibur's vault at the top of the highest tower?
Oh, that is a very good question.
Yeah. I got characters.
Okay. Guard 1, Guard 2. Hey, Guard 2? Did you ever notice that it's kind of weird?
Give them names.
Okay.
So you're Guard 1, I guess. You took that role.
Yeah.
I'll name your guy.
Okay.
Chusag.
And Guard 2, Zoida.
Zoida. Sorry, go ahead.
Zoida. It's kind of weird.
My guard's very like into their own name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we get it. That's your name. It's on the name tag, Zoida.
Okay, go ahead. I'm getting in character.
Is it weird that we store Excalibur, the very important and dangerous weapon, on top of the tallest tower?
Whoa, Excalibur's in there?
Yeah. That's why it's such an important vault.
No, they didn't tell me it was important. They just said, go up to that tower, and I was, I live on the sea floor. You know how long it takes to get up to these towers?
Oh man, the traveling by school is just awful. With all the stops they have to make on the way up.
Yeah. But you're saying Excalibur is in there?
I mean, yeah.
And they're paying...
It uses a tentacle to point to several signs.
And they're paying us 250 squoizogs per plonton. Let me rephrase that. So they're paying us minimum wage to guard the most powerful artifact known to Martian kind.
And Choisag kind of like glimmers with some unsure bioluminescence and goes, you bring up an interesting point as... Sorry, I did that so wrong. Froki, the magical terrorist, attacks them.
Attacks them personally?
Yeah, just like comes at them with some magic.
Well, be specific on the magic.
I think it's like magic missile, but they're like doing it to where they like launch it as they're spinning on all their tentacles at the same time. So it's almost like they're doing a cartwheel of magical missile. Yeah. It's like an over the top, like the Chinese science fiction fantasy movies that have like way over the top action.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I'm on board. So he knocks them out, and then I feel like we're no closer to our answer.
Oh, that doesn't explain. He looks up from their unconscious bodies and says, because it's really hard to get up here for us.
Okay, so then Vroki blasts open the door, and like all the water flushes them out, and then they're just out in the air. Like, I don't know, like... I think maybe there's like some contraption or something that's like the weapon was just kind of like, I don't know. It's they are able to put it out in the air is maybe the answer.
Oh, like the weapon itself?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that feels like too loose of a, you know? Like some people could get some water suits and just climb up the side.
What if it's because the sword is protected by a giant bird? Just this giant, like, dinosaur-like bird.
So Vroki puts on their air suit. They're going out into the air suit. They suit up next to Chusag and Zoida. And then blasts open the door. Water floods out near the rock that I assume that the sword is held in.
Right.
Steps outside and is immediately picked up by a large bird.
Yeah, this giant pterodactyl thing that...
Okay.
So, they've got the vault on top of this tower, and they've got guards guarding it. inside. But the reason it's up on the tower is because they've got a giant like pterodactyl thing guarding it. And whenever Vroki steals the sword, it flushes him outside and he gets attacked by the pterodactyl. And so like if this was a movie, the camera would watch their fight for a second and then he would accidentally drop the sword. And you'd just watch the sword drop into the ocean while he and the pterodactyl are fighting in the background. And the sword just plunges deep into the water.
Yeah, I mean, you're filling in a lot of blank space that could be ripe for more questions.
Sorry.
Now, my immediate next question is something we may have to come back to. Why they got that bird? Why is that bird better than like a seabird that they could have underwater? There are many questions that this answer asks.
Yeah.
But we answered that question.
I feel like that question is the first couple of minutes of Man of Steel, where they're on planet Krypton, and there's so much stuff happening. And while I was watching, I was like, I have so many more questions about this section of the movie than the rest of the entire movie put together.
Well, then maybe you should watch Krypton this fall on Sci-Fi.
I should, because it looks interesting. I've heard good things.
I have to hear a lot of good things about it before I'm willing to check it out.
Now I need to give you a legacy?
You give me a legacy for something in the things we did this past round.
So I'm going to make it Giant Bird Guard.
And then you make a scene or an event with the Giant Bird Guard, which we should probably name
Tom Bombadil.
All right.
Scene. Gotta think of a scene.
You could do an event.
Think of an event.
You could do a scene. Daniel's scene is right after the scene I just did, and the question he is posing is, why wasn't Excalibur found? Can I suggest a character in this scene?
Yeah, go for it.
Zoida! They survived and kept it for themselves.
Yeah. And so far, I had characters in the scene such as the current Phaedra, Wielder, Yurik, the giant bird guard, and then Zoida and Chusag.
But they did, though.
Oh, they could have survived.
You think Vroki is taking hostages? No way, man.
All right. It's just their corpses.
Vroki's a death dealer.
Oh, that's real good. I'm adding that to his description.
Their description.
Yeah, their description.
Tips on bird guard.
I was going to say, are you just going to chirp?
You want to start?
All right.
Set the scene,
okay.
I guess.
Vroki has just escaped or disappeared. Maybe they fall into the ocean, so we don't have a clear idea if they're alive or dead. And Phaedra runs up to the tower, tinkling, and breathlessly is like, Yurik, where's Excalibur?
Okay, is this taking place outside? Are they in a water suit or?
I mean, it could be outside, and they could just know they need to get back inside pretty quick.
Okay, what'd you put? Sorry.
They run out onto the bridge to the tower vault, and it's like, Yurik, where's the sword?
No, I guess it has speech since you made it a character.
I mean, it could just screech and like point.
Yo, it fell. Or maybe it's like, I don't know, I was trying to defeat Vroki. Or I was trying to defeat this magic dude. He said to guard the sword, but they grabbed it, and I guess Giant Bird is like, I don't know.
What if
I think it fell.
Could we do like a scene that follows the sword itself to answer the question?
Make Excalibur character.
I mean, that's true.
Do you just want to do the scene that you just narrated? Yeah, just make Excalibur character and then narrate their journey, their thoughts.
I mean, well, we've got like the other two there.
Okay, I think Yurik up on the top of the tower. Phaedra comes out and is like, yo, where's the sword? And Yurik is like, alas, poor me, it is gone.
And the sword
and
flips them off.
And then we follow the sword.
And it's like, deuces.
So the sword is like twirling through the currents below.
Yeah, I think the currents carry Excalibur almost like they've got a will of their own and draw it deep into a chasm. Maybe there's a gianter monster that sits on top.
You see teeth.
Yeah.
The sword glows as you see its glow disappear behind some teeth.
There we go.
Why wasn't Excalibur found? I ate it. Something ate it. Okay. Is your focus to choose?
I want to know more about the weapons core.
All right, give me 2.
So I've got the weapons core together create a suspended tower in the sky under touch the skies of period. And then during the sea scrapers period, they divide politically.
Okay. What do you mean by suspended tower?
I was thinking maybe there's the air scrapers that come up out of the ocean, and they're suspended between a couple of them as like a symbol of unity and balance. I feel like we should come up with a name for the weapons core.
The Kraken.
Crack-a-laggin'.
Okay, so I have added right now as the last event in the Grand Unification. I have the event Vogoth creates the weapons core, creating several newer weapons to make their newly united lands more manageable. Or should I say Martianable? All right, and you get to create one more thing. Daniel has created a new scene just below the event I just created. And it says, "Why did the weapon crops meet secretly?" No, I'm just kidding. He didn't typo it. I typoed it. Why did the weapons core meet secretly? What characters you got?
We gotta make some new ones. Well, there should be the new Phaedra. I'll name them Aegon and Grulo. I'll make this the heads of the weapons core. So maybe Bruza and Grulo are having an argument, and Aegon comes in and like closes the door behind him, and it's like, "Hey, keep your voices down."
I was just saying that if you wanted to signal help is coming, you should light 3 times brightly up into the upwards instead of 2 times. It's much more clear.
I think Aegon just makes the Phaedra like light up with a little bit of like lightning. It's like, that's not what we came here to discuss.
And Gulo says, "Yeah, I don't see why it's a big deal." And then Brosa's like, "Because we need our symbols or we need our communication to be clear if anyone's able to communicate. Otherwise, it's just all chaos." And scene. Why did they meet secretly? So that they had working symbols. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna have Aegon say, "No, we've got to meet because we need to figure out how to control Excalibur."
I think Gulo maybe says, but Excalibur controls us. We can't control Excalibur.
Exactly.
What?
Yeah.
Are these the names of the weapons or the names of the characters?
Oh, characters. It's confusing.
Okay, you don't have the weapons for them.
No, I've got the list if we want to add some.
Oh, Excalibur is the lake one. It's not in a stone.
They put it in a lake later.
No, Caliburn is the sword Arthur pulled from the stone.
Oh.
So maybe up in the tower it was like a dry lake. It was a large room.
Oh.
Instead of being in a stone.
Yeah.
And then the bird picked him out of the arena. Because it has a lot more room to... I just wonder, what does a hammer look like underwater? Is it just a basic hammer?
I mean, yeah.
Thing about Mjolnir is that it would return when thrown.
Yeah.
It's a big deal of it.
And it could have some sort of like there's a thing where it can like stay wherever you drop it. So maybe it's almost like an immovable rod or has some gravity control.
Yeah, what if it's just a staff and a heavy rock that can be summoned?
Oh.
The staff? Like it can detach, but I guess Thor on Earth didn't know that. What about like a hammer that's heavy, as heavy or light as the user wants it to be?
There you go.
And can return.
So maybe that's how it works underwater, is they can make it really light while they're swinging it. And as they like release it, they can make it really heavy.
Maybe it changes shape, the hammerhead.
No, that's true.
The hammer part. So it can be fluid dynamic, kind of like an axe head to cut through the water, and then it changes to a blunt, heavy object at the end.
That sounds cool.
What's yours?
Oh, yeah.
Pridwen.
Pridwen is King Arthur's shield. So I think it uses just a really sturdy shield. I think it's like a magical, like, force fieldy shield.
Okay.
But
okay.
So I kind of felt like his character was very dour but steadfast.
From what I've given you?
Yeah.
So did we answer why they met secretly? To plan a coup, or?
Yeah, I think they want to plan a reason to... I'll write something down here.
Didn't Akon just say, we got to figure out a way to to control Excalibur instead of letting it control us.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make Vogoth your legacy now.
Oh.
Or Uric, the bird thing. In the period Touch the Sky, sometime after the weapon core create a suspended tower in the sky. On a land expedition, the team of the aforementioned land expedition finds an egg that appears to be ancient.
Ooh.
I did that through the Uric legacy, if you see where I'm going with that.
And out of it is hatched Thor.
The Crabman.
Yeah.
I guess I choose a focus this time. Grand Unification.
Okay.
This one, the scene is going to be less of a scene and I think more of a discussion. But I create an event at the beginning. It's the first one so far in the Grand Unification. That's our first period. My event is the first weapons start appearing, and this leads to massive losses for the nations that do not possess any of the weapons.
Okay.
So the first weapons start appearing and massively sway the wars that are going on.
And then you've asked a question.
Yeah, the scene I have is, what was the first weapon found? I think this can be more of a throw out an idea and we'll pick one, basically.
What if we make it Ichival? Because that could make some interesting things for their remembrance later on. Thinking back on this time?
Yeah. I googled first legendary weapon, and they talk about Lord of the Rings online and Guild Wars.
There is oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. Garbarg, and it's the spear of Chuchlan, made from the bones of a sea monster. It's an Irish thing.
Well, what is it though?
A spear made of sea bones. GAE space BULG. And there's an accent mark on the A.
What if this is like a precursor to that?
Precursor?
Yeah. What if it is these bones of a giant sea monster, and all of the bones are the weapon, and then these get broken off into various weapons?
Like they break them down into smaller pieces.
Yeah. One of them can be a spear for this, but this might be the origin of the weapons.
That'd be cool. Yeah, even in the legend, the spear supposedly had 7 heads, and each with 7 barbs.
So the first weapon found isn't that. That's based on this.
Yeah.
This is like a skeleton mech suit, biomech suit.
Oh.
Whoever found that goes on like a rampage, and then pieces of that are found and crafted into weapons.
Okay. Yeah, it could work.
I really like the idea of this skeleton mech suit. Like a huge, I don't even know the shape. Like I'm thinking whale just because that's like the largest sea creatures here.
So since it's in water, it really wouldn't need like feet like we have.
Yeah.
So what if it's all the bones, but they're all like pushed up together in like a weird texture? Like instead of actually resembling the skeleton of a creature, they're all shoved up around the wearer in like a weird, like Channel Zero's Teeth Kid.
I should have known. Okay, I see what you're saying.
There's a lot of pictures of just kids with teeth.
Kids' teeth. I can see that. Like a very compressed skeleton instead of being spread out.
Like maybe it still resembles a whale.
Yeah, and it's still quite a bit larger than the person in it instead of being form-fitting.
Yeah.
But less of the supermassive with a bunch of gaps in it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You could just call it the first.
Oh, that's true.
That was my 2 starts for Grand Unification.
Okay.
You've got something to put in somewhere related to the Grand Unification.
So right after your question about the first weapons, I have the first is defeated in battle.
Oh.
Maybe that's a group effort to take them down.
Okay.
Did you want them nuked that soon?
What?
Did you want them nuked that soon?
There's many events in between those 2.
Oh, okay.
I will add 4 now. Daniel put this event in between the first weapons start appearing and Excalibur forged for the Child King Vogoth. So somewhere between those two events, the first is defeated in battle. I gotta create one more thing relating to the grand unification. Okay, I've got a scene underneath the first is defeated in battle. The scene is, why did the first turn to dust when Kiln touched it?
Ooh.
Because Kiln is there.
Yeah. The first, obviously.
Although they might not be doing much. Obviously it's a great big battle happening. Some people have united, perhaps. Specifics more or less unknown, vague at this point.
What if we had
Kiln is what?
Oh, if we had Siri there, because then they could be like watching or like getting ideas.
I think there's got to be like a wizard involved.
I'm about to say Vroki, but he is probably not yet born.
Probably not.
And I realized after we said Vroki the wizard that that's really close to Loki.
What about Broky, the guy with no money?
Oh, poor hobo wizard.
We can find out at first. Kiln is like, I'm going out there. I'm going to defeat it.
The first is like, rah, destroy everything.
And Siri's like, hey, you can't defeat that.
First you need the magic stuff.
And Kiln is like, all right, put this gel on my hands. Old wizard Bondi. I don't like this scene.
A little rough.
Maybe we should discuss it a little more than roleplay it.
Yeah.
Since we've got two people. Some of the scenes work out well.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, what if Siri is like a super engineer guy person and Wani is a super magical person, and together they make something for Kiln to fight with.
As long as it's like a gel type substance on Kiln's hand.
Okay. What if it breaks the connection between all the bones? Almost like a virus. So they run up and they start touching the first, and bones just start dropping off.
So Wani is like creating a spell that should dissolve the bonds between bones.
Yeah.
And Siri is developing a delivery mechanism.
Yeah.
Because no magic can get close to the first. Wani's been trying spells, but spells just bounce off before it can even approach the thing. And so Siri develops this thing that won't be... Siri's got a bit of bone that doing tests against it and discovered some algae paste or something that can get close to the bone. And so Kiln is like, all right, I'm going in. And he does the Full Metal Alchemist, clap his hands together. Clap their hands together.
Clap their tentacles together.
Yeah. Clap their tentacles and then cartwheel at. Everyone cartwheels in battle.
I mean, it makes sense.
And maybe it's at this time, Siri, in doing these tests with the bones, sees potential for crafting things.
Yeah, I like that.
There's less role playing, but
yeah,
I think that's fine. We could do it how we want. Can replace my legacy or create a new one, and then you can do a scene or an event dealing with my or your legacy.
I'll have the first be your new legacy.
Okay.
Why? So the sudden appearance of all this bone dust and magic weapons creates a magical arms race among the different kingdoms.
So I have up here the first weapons start appearing, leading to massive losses. I think the first weapons... No, it's fine.
Okay.
I think the first weapons appearing on that part is... it has to do with the... like, just broken off bone fragments.
Yeah. Are
leading to massive wins. Just wielding those.
Okay, so the first is still running around during that whole period.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to clear it up a bit. Do you want to make this be the last round?
Sure. So I pick my new focus now?
Yes.
Okay.
Focus and then two things.
My new focus will be Voyage to Earth. I wanted to get this idea before I forgot it.
Yeah, there was an idea I had that I should have written down. It was a whole period that it's just gone now.
Oh. So I had this idea, and this reaches out past microscope with some changes. So he said that there's these planet gods.
Have we covered that in anything concretely?
No, we haven't touched on it concretely in the rest of the canon.
So we got these planet gods. that we haven't talked about before, but are very important and have been there all along.
That's completely true. It was from the start.
It hasn't really manifested in anything yet concretely, but we've had this idea we've been kicking around that...
Oh, well, we touched on it very briefly in the Quake world build. We had some ideas bounce around about it.
Yeah, I don't think we had determined that it was a planet god thing yet,
Yeah.
though. Just that there was some, like, gateway to some force. But we're thinking that can be, like, the essence of the planet itself. And each planet has one, or each planet with life has one, or something.
Yeah. So I had this idea that they weren't advanced enough yet to make a spaceship to leave. But what they did have was their planet god. And she raises up the oceans and just tosses them to Earth through space. So just the oceans of Mars flying through space with their cities, like their constructed cities. And then when they get there, the Martian god dies from the effort. My idea was maybe part of them dies on Mars, or on the moon, on Earth's moon, just trying to tie it into Moonglow. I worked really hard for that. Now I realize that could be more a problem than it's worth. Yeah, what do you think? Does that work? These two events?
What is Atlantis, the city? Because at some point I think we had it was their spaceship.
Yeah, but now it's sounding like they didn't have spaceship technology. So maybe they create a city that can survive this trip. But so it's like a self-contained city, but not necessarily a spaceship.
And that sinks.
Yeah.
At some point.
Like maybe it's more like a submarine city. Something closer to the Nautilus.
I just wonder, is there anything we could do with them taking refuge inside the body of this planet goddess?
Oh, that could work, like a giant whale almost.
Yeah, or something like that.
That could be really cool.
I don't know. Play with it. Could be a part of their body, but part of they die and some of their corpses on the moon. I also wonder how impossibly huge are these planet beings?
See, I was almost thinking they're
like fifth dimensional.
Yeah, I was thinking something like Ego, where there's a small seed of their actual being, but then they just over time grow into the whole planet.
See, that's too small scale for me.
Okay.
If these are supposed to be like elder god type things, not necessarily, some of them seem good, but like in scope.
Right.
Just being the size of the planet is too small.
So are they connected to the planet?
Something? I don't know. There's got to be like some either like extra dimensional space of them.
Okay.
There's some other plane of existence that most of them exist on or something. I've been very obsessed lately with the idea of how big space is and how terrifying that is.
Right.
And I just imagine the scope of a being that exists in space. Not necessarily in physical space, but in the scale of space. Because it's like the part of the cosmos we can see is like such a drop in the ocean of all of it. What we can see is a cup, and what we've scooped it out of is the ocean.
Yeah.
So I imagine the part of these beings that any mortals interact with is the cup. And there's still an ocean left of these beings, you know?
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe it's like a connection severing, not a death.
What if it's like they reach the planet's, Earth's god's domain and they lose their power, or like the Earth god like grips them away from it, and that's like like they're sacrificing a piece of themselves to get the people there.
Yeah, maybe they can't. Their domain is Mars. They can't really go beyond it, so they cut off a toenail.
Yeah.
And that's what they send to Earth.
And the other god just like grabs whatever they send over and just pulls it into themselves.
Yeah.
But I think that works.
So goddess doesn't die. The piece of the goddess dies.
Yeah.
Maybe a physical remnant is left on the moon, and then that could be some sort of power thing for Moonglow.
Yeah.
To tie back into what you wanted to get out of that. I'm just now imagining an actual toenail just crashing into the moon.
I forgot to mention that whatever vessel or form that they get the Martians to Earth, I thought it'd be funny if they called it the Vogoth in honor of the unification.
Okay, I've got a period between the air scrapers, more like sea scrapers, and but after that, but before leaving Mars, I have days of destruction. This is a time period of great environmental disasters and strife and such, making the planet nigh unlivable. It's just a very bad time in Mars history that perhaps, who knows what happens between this period and the leaving Mars period, but perhaps it is the one right before it. But your turn to make a thing.
I just added a series of events that takes place during the Days of Destruction.
You just added one event.
Yeah, just one. But it's the Leviathan monsters. Just an indeterminately large monster begins rising from the depths and attacking people on the surface.
On the surface, you mean?
Well, they rise up at the deepest part of the oceans.
Okay.
And are just causing problems where used to they were just a very deep water creature.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've given you the legacy Marsda.
What's Mars?
I named what they named their planet goddess.
Oh, okay. Mars, duh.
Okay, and then I will make one thing with one of our legacies as a final event or scene for our play session today. I'm gonna make it a good one.
No pressure.
Okay, how's that?
All weapons are summoned to one location in a resurrection of the first. Oh, this is directly after the violent Leviathans rise from the surface.
Sometime after.
Yeah. Some amount of time.
Yeah, could be directly after.
Nice. I like it.
I used the legacy of the first.
Very nice.
Okay, do I want to do a quick summary?
Sure. So we have the Grand Unification as the start of our history here.
Yeah, we got a lot of wars and such between many nations.
And there's a magical skeletal mech suit called the First that then creates many more magical weapons from itself.
Yeah, and then it's defeated and turns into a bunch of dust, which then creates a magical arms race. The bunch of kingdoms start scraping up the dust and making weapons, I assume.
Yeah. From this, there's the first, I think we're just saying, like, Major King Vogoth, who wields Excalibur that can control other magical weapons.
Yeah, he was some grand unifier, I think.
But then they secretly met to Excalibur him.
Then Vogoth created the weapons cores, which planned and plotted against him, or them. And then there was a period of time where Excalibur was locked away.
Yeah.
And the weapons developed councils to rule more jointly.
And they created towers that could stand up out of the water, and they seemed to be a pretty harmonious time at that point.
Yeah, as far as we could tell right now.
Yeah.
Sometime later, the towers start falling down out of the sky and into the seas.
Yeah, and there's a lot of political upheaval.
And the different cores are dividing amongst themselves and against each other and different such. A rife area to explore sometime in the future.
Yeah.
And then I guess at one of the last towers still standing has Excalibur.
Yeah. Maybe that's a very large period, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Excalibur is stolen but then lost.
Yeah. And then sometime after that, there's great environmental disasters and everything is terrible and monsters start coming up from the deep and even the First is resurrected instead of in bone form a bunch of weapons in its shape.
And then everybody gets together some point after that and they leave Mars together in some form or manner to go to Earth.
Yeah, through Marsda, the Mars goddess's magic.
Yeah, well, I think we did pretty good.
Yeah.
I might post these show notes on our blog in case people want to go out and see kind of what we made.
Yeah, and this is a concept. I hope you guys like it. We'll definitely be interested in doing a part 2 we'll definitely be adding to the timeline. Whether or not you guys want it to be an episode, I guess let us know whether you like this format as a experiment into the gaming side of things instead of a typical world build. Give us a little more structure. But I'd love to do a part 2 and fill in more areas of the timeline. But if you guys hate this episode for some reason, then let us know and we'll just do this timeline on our own and report back our findings.
Yeah, because maybe we could use this as like a frame to do some world building in the future, but then we could talk it out, or we can see how this works whenever we edit it together.
Yeah, and we've been talking about different ways to bring other games into our world building thing because it seemed like a fun thing to do. So this was our first foray into this experimental side of things instead of just riffing on a theme, having a little bit of structure and seeing how that guides things.
Yeah.
Do we want to do some plugs?
Yeah. Well, it's July, and we're participating in a thing called hashtag 2pods-a-day.
We're taking part in it.
It's a month-long campaign for July to promote indie podcasts, and they've got a Facebook and a Twitter, and we'll put all that in the show notes to check out. But there was a couple that we checked out. One I checked out was Surf Memphis, and they were pretty funny. They're like a travel pod, but it's all about interviewing couch surfers in their house.
And if you follow them every day in this month, you will get 2 new indie pods to listen to.
Yeah.
And they've got little reviews for each of them, so you can see what they're about and see if you want to step into those. One of the ones that was on there recently that was pretty good was I Never Saw That, and it was a pretty good one about watching shows that this woman couldn't see in her childhood because she was at like what was the word she used? Therapeutic boarding school. You got to hear the story. I don't want to butcher it at all. It sounds not great.
Yeah.
From what I've heard. But the podcast is really good though. But the one of the episodes I looked at was this episode 24 highlights is pretty good because it gives you a sampler of everything they've done.
Yeah.
But yeah, go check out 2 pods a day and get two pods a day.
I'm tweeting about it right now.
Yeah, we've been tweeting about it a lot, so
yeah,
you can also check it out through there. But there will be links to everything. We've rambled a lot here.
We have.
Mainly me.
I'm sorry. I guess we should do our regular outro stuff. Our art is by Lisa Prather. You can find her art at our website, lisapratherart.com.
Sure.
And Instagram, Lisa Prather Art.
Yeah. The song we probably used is Freeharmonics by the Freeharmonic Orchestra, used under its Creative Commons license, and we shortened it a bit for our use. You can go check that out at Free Music Archive, and links in the show notes as well.
And then we've got email, Twitter, we got website, we got WordPress, we got Facebook. There's even a Discord channel.
Yeah, come
talk
chat with
to
us. Whoa. Skeleton Mac in the general chat. So if you were in this thing, you would know over a day early a clue of what's going to happen in this episode.
That's right. That's exclusive.
Okay. You can find Daniel at Guare and guare.itch.io.
You can find Quentin at Quentin Pongrants.
Yeah, I think you could find Josh just recently got an Instagram. I think we're done.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week with those Tabula Rasa stories.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Also, like having all that power.
All that power.
What was that?
Is that the song?
The Kanye West one?
Yeah.
Yours sounded nothing like what that one is.
That's my own song. Yeah.
Hanjo Masamune, a legendary and very real Japanese sword.
Very real.